the LaxFactor podcast. What is up, college lacrosse fans? You're watching another episode of the LaxFactor podcast. Technically, this is going to be the first episode of the new season here. What are we at? Season 4. I took a definite hiatus. We will get into why, and it's not a very good excuse, but we'll talk about that a little bit here. And I want to ease into this first episode by talking about something near and dear to my heart, and that is the transfer haul that my Syracuse Orange brought in here. They definitely won the transfer portal and some here this year. I'm not sure who's close. We'll talk about teams that are close after I talk about what Syracuse brought in. And we will, that's pretty much it. We're going to talk about I think there's 6 transfers I've got to, whip into here. As always, you can go to LaxFactor.com, support us that way. Now you can get mugs and crap like that, beer. Actually, it's a nice little beer glass. You can stay hydrated while enjoying the show. You can watch all our videos there. You can get t-shirts, swag, all sorts of crap. So you can go to LaxFactor.com. Otherwise, just like, subscribe, share this video, find us everywhere we appear on social media. We are on YouTube, obviously, if you're watching here. Spotify is the second best place to watch or listen to the show because you can both watch and listen to it on Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the dreaded TikTok. We're at all those places. So if you happen to, venture into any of those apps, be sure to seek me out, and like the show there and follow us there as well. But I'm going to shut up here, and we're going to get into this here. No mistaking. Syracuse absolutely killed the transfer portal, murdered it here. And the guy that I think I'm the most excited about, the guy that I've heard early on here so far in the fall, could be the best player on the field, period, is Jake Stevens, midfield transfer out of Princeton. They also pick up Sam English out of Princeton, another really good midi. But I want to talk about Stevens first. He is legitimately as complete of a player as you're going to see running around playing lacrosse, college lacrosse in 2024. The dude can do it all. He can finish. He's kind of pegged as a two-way midfielder. So when you hear two-way midfielder, you don't think that the dude's actually would be a killer offensively. But when you look at Stevens' numbers from last season, 2023, and actually here I'll show you instead of just reading it off to you here. If we get to his career stats, you look at this: 24 goals, 5 helpers, 29 points. The dude shot 41.4% from the field, which is incredible. 35 GBs last season. He was used a lot more offensively and a lot less as a kind of two-way utility player just because of his value offensively. Only 4 turnovers, 4 caused turnovers. So it's kind of a wash there. 8 man-up goals. The dude was an absolute killer last season for Princeton. That's over 15 games. Excuse me. 2022, 16 games played, 22 goals, 2 assists, 24 points, 38.6% shooting. You get the idea here. This dude's a killer. Offensively, he's a Canadian, and he's got a lot of box experience. He's going to play really good off ball. He's incredible in and around the crease area, high crease area. The guy can finish with the best of them all over. He can dodge, though, too. So it's not just like he's an off-ball Canadian finisher, which is what you kind of think of when you hear Canadian automatically as a dude who's just a finisher. But, I mean, he can dodge as well as any midfielder in the country, create his own shot, create for teammates, but he is primarily going to be a goal hawk on the offensive side of the ball. As a wing, I don't know that he'll end up playing on the wing in terms of faceoffs. I believe he probably will for Syracuse this year, simply because they have so much depth everywhere else. So I would assume that in his last collegiate season that they may just want to, hey, let's just brutalize this poor dude and let's put him everywhere. And that's really how I would like to see him used, is use him on the wing. He can get stuck on defense and still play pretty good defense. Probably one of the better short stick D-mids on the roster overall if he got stuck in that position. But I don't know how much you're going to see him used there because Syracuse does have some decent short stick D-mid depth, and I don't think they'll really need him in that capacity. But if he ends up playing on the wing, I've heard they have some other promising guys that are playing the short stick wing on the faceoffs as well. So once again, they may not need to wear him out there, but if he was called upon to do that, one of the best in the country, very capable in that way. And over his career, I mean, the dude's got 58 goals, 11 assists, 69 points, has shot 38.4% over the course of his career. So just too many good things to say about Jake Stevens. He's a veteran leader. He's tough as nails, big brain guy. coming out of Princeton here. So that is an absolute just monster of a pickup for Syracuse right off the bat. And I think what I've heard kind of in the best place to get Syracuse lacrosse news, there's a forum, I forget what it's called, Cuse fan or Syracuse fan or whatever, absolutely the best place to poach information from. And from what people are chirping and chattering about in there is that thus far he's been the best player on the field for Syracuse. And I'd expect that. Yes, we have a Joey Spallina, but you can't make up for experience, and Stevens has experience, intelligence, athleticism in spades. And then playing that midfield position and then putting himself in a position where he's great between the boxes as well. He's going to be hugely important. He's going to touch the ball a lot. And I just couldn't be more excited to have him. And then it goes from there, and it just keeps getting better. I'm not going to talk about English yet. We're going to move on first to Christian Mule from Lehigh. When I first heard about this pickup, I was extremely excited because he will gel right off the bat. I figured he would gel perfectly with Hiltz and Spallina on attack. I didn't like the way Spallina was used last season in the sense that I felt like he would have been a little bit more valuable up on that right wing. They needed him at X last season. This season, I think that you'll see Mule play X a little bit more. I mean, him and Spallina will be interchangeable in that way, but I think you'll see Spallina play the wing most likely. You'll see Mule play at X, and he can get it done in numerous ways here. If we look at his stats, last season he was primarily called upon to kind of feed. He goes for 29 goals and 44 helpers last season. But if you look at his career before leading into last season, he was traditionally goal scoring first, kind of a 2-to-1 ratio, 31 and 14 in 2021, 33 and 11 in 2022. Excellent shooter, 36.6% shooting over the course of his career. Turns the ball over a little bit, but he'll pick up some GBs and scrap, and he'll ride here and there. I think you'll see him ride a little bit more this year with Cuse and this crazy, like Spallina and Hiltz aren't the most athletic attackmen in terms of their foot speed, but both of them are intelligent enough to be in the right spot. And I think that Mule, he's got some foot speed. He's a little, kind of a jitterbug type dude. So I think that they should have a pretty scrappy, tough riding unit here. And I think that you may see him play a little bit more in that capacity, maybe take some more balls away here. So if he could take 6 balls away from the defenses they're trying to clear over the course of the season, that would be incredible. But a huge pickup because he's going to allow Hiltz and Spallina to do what they do best, which is kind of let the game come to them, act as dodgers off of someone else's first dodge. And I think that they leaned on Spallina a little bit too much last year as a dodger, simply because he was kind of the best dodger on the attackman until what's-his-nuts came in and played well and started carrying the ball well. But I think Mule is going to be that guy. I think that that's what they need. And the fact that he's a true 50-50 guy, whether he can both feed and score at equal rates, so he'll be able to take what the game gives him. But I think that you're going to see his assist numbers be pretty high here with Hiltz and Spallina both flanking him. And I'll be happy to see Spallina spend more time out front of the cage, goal line extended and above versus behind, because I think Mule can eat a lot of that time. So I think he's been hurt so far in the fall, so I don't think we've seen a lot of action out of him. I could be wrong on that. But either way, it's just an absolute huge pickup. But not only just a veteran, but a high-quality player that's going to be able to put up some points right away. Could even lead the attack in scoring. I think he's legitimately that good, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. Another player that we should be extremely excited about, Sam English, midfielder out of Princeton again here. Now, English only played 9 games last year, didn't play his first collegiate season until he was a junior because of COVID, and then the Ivy didn't play the year after, so both of those were because of COVID. So he didn't even play his first season until he was a junior. That was in 2022, his full season. 2022, though, 30 goals, 18 helpers, 48 points, 34.5% shooting. Over his career, like I said, not a lot of games. I think he's played somewhere in the area of 25 to like 28 collegiate games. He may have gotten up to 5 in that COVID season, so we might even be up to 30 collegiate games. But 38 goals, 32 helpers, 30% shooting, 43 GBs to turnover ratios about even with the 12 caused turnovers as well. So Sam English, I didn't even show you his stats. Very good lacrosse player. Once again, another Canadian, I believe, right? Canadian from Culver Military Academy, of all places here. So I don't know exactly how these lines are going to shake up, but I would assume we may very well see an all-Canadian first midfield line, because I think that Thompson's going to be the other first-team midfielder. He played really well last year, at the midfield, put up a bunch of points, and the fact that these guys are, fellow Canadians, I think that you're going to see them, just a ton of pick slip game and things like that. They'll work well with the attackman overall, but it'll be crazy to see Thompson, English, and Stevens all run in midfield, because it's going to be one of the best first midfield units overall. I think that you're going to see anywhere in the country. There's going to be other teams that are going to have units that'll be close, but if you're a Syracuse fan, you should be very excited about the prospects. And it's not just that first midfield that's going to be formidable. If you recall, they had a bunch of Leo. There's a bunch of guys that did really well last year as young guys, and I presume they'll get bumped to second midfield, but you'll see those two midfields play pretty equal time, because those guys deserved it. It's just, English and Stevens are monsters, and I think Thompson was, being Canadian is going to lend himself well to playing with that unit, I think, overall. So just crazy. And now, one of the things that Syracuse ate shit on, and they ate shit terribly last year when it came to face-offs, just one of the worst face-off units in the country, the worst face-off unit I've ever seen Syracuse put out on the field overall as in my life of watching them. It was just an absolute travesty, and it was crazy to have a team that played as well as they did. The defense battled injuries, but still played pretty formidable considering what happened, considering all the young guys that were playing. It was that face-off unit that really killed Cuse and cost them a couple of games for sure. And it could have made the difference between them making the playoffs and not making the tournament here come by the end. But they pick up Mason Cone from Tufts. He was the, I believe he's the FOGO of the year. He was a first-team All-American last year at the Division III level for Tufts. He won 71.6% of his draws last season, 255 faceoffs, won overall, 184 GBs, 7 goals, 3 helpers, 10 points, not too bad either. Now, that's a huge pickup. But that one for me by itself doesn't fix the face-off problem. I think that the reason I'm more optimistic that we're going to win more face-offs, he could certainly play part in that. But I've heard that they've got another face-off guy, I believe a freshman that they're really hyped on, I believe as well. What I'm more excited about is the addition of a guy like Stevens, and if he does end up playing the wing, we have an experienced wing player that's tough, that if he picks that ground ball up is going to be a danger off the draw every time on the offensive end immediately in terms of transition. But I'm also really excited about the addition of Steven Schmidt here. And I've heard a lot of people talk about Wright, because Matt Wright from North Carolina, he's kind of the big ACC name here. But when you look at what Steven Schmidt did last season for Mount St. Mary's, Connor Beals was Mount St. Mary's FOGO last year. He won 65.1% of his draws, and Schmidt played into that. We look at his stats last year: 9 goals, 4 helpers as an LSM, 13 points, shot 33%. That's not too bad for a long stick either. 97 ground balls, just 4 turnovers. A dude that picks the ball up 97 times and only has 4 turnovers. That's a quality LSM. 29 caused turnovers. So Syracuse has LSM talent already. Sam Alexo last year was incredible. He played down low a little bit as well. So I've heard people talk about what will they do? Like, will Alexo maybe play close? I don't know. I think you're still going to see Alexo play the wing, but the depth that Schmidt adds to that wing, specifically kind of in face-off play as a ground ball hawk, I think that's going to go a long ways in transition. Obviously Gate and we're trying to get back to that old run and gun Syracuse mentality, and having a pole that can put points up like Alexo did for Syracuse last year. I think Alexo is one of the best LSMs in the country. I'm a little biased, but so we add Schmidt to the mix here. Very good. His career, 12 goals, 6 helpers, 18 points, 171 ground balls, 9 turnovers to 64 caused turnovers. So huge pickup, and I think he's going to factor heavily in, Syracuse having more success at the faceoff dot than they did last year, because it was just absolutely terrible. And then the other guy here that I want to talk about, Matt Wright, LSM from North Carolina, UNC. It sounds funny calling them North Carolina because I don't normally do that. Another big pickup. It's just adding quality depth on the defensive side, and that was what Syracuse was lacking. Now, I think what's going to be huge for the Syracuse defense this year is the addition of these 2 guys specifically, mixed with the fact that we had guys hurt last year, so a lot of the young guys had to play. And so I think that all those inexperienced players from last year I think they kind of overshot what people would have expected them to do in terms of how well they played defensively, considering they were eating shit in terms of that possession battle every single game. So adding Wright, adding Schmidt to the mix, adding a guy like Stevens, Jake Titus, a short stick D mid transferred, D3 transfer out of Union, just adding depth to that short stick D mid thing. And then we got young guys. I'm not even getting into talking about the young guys and the incoming players and the incoming freshmen. And I also, another guy I didn't talk about in terms of a transfer is the OCC transfer. But I'm not sure, just offensively, they're so loaded offensively. I'm not sure how that's going to end up working out in terms of how they're going to distribute that playing time, because those three attackmen, Mule, Spallina, and Hiltz, have to play all the time. Stevens, English, they have to be on the field offensively between those first and two midfield lines, I believe. And then you got all the guys back from last year as well. So I'm not sure how much time and how they're going to divvy this up. You can only really play 6 midfielders offensively overall, 3 attackmen. Usually you could work a 4th attackman in, and you could even work a 4th attackman and maybe a 5th midfielder in, or a 7th midfielder in for man-up situations and things like that. But you just look at that man-up offense for Syracuse last year. I believe everybody's back, and Jake Stevens is an absolute killer on man-up. Moulet's not bad himself on man-up. So too many balls to go around here overall. I do know that is what she said, in fact. So we'll what are we going to do? I'm going to talk about that a lot more in depth here. I was super rusty, but we're just going to one take this anyway and put this out as it is. I don't think I even remembered to talk about why I took the break. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cough here. The whole reason I took the break over the summer was because I got addicted to golf. I got addicted to golf badly, and I ended up golfing, usually two times a week. This week, for instance, I went 4 times. Went out 4 times, and I don't have a lot of free time. So I usually podcast in a lot of my free time over the summer. This year, all of my free time was devoted to golf, hitting the driving range, all that crap. So yeah, I don't even have a great reason. I didn't have terrible health problems. I actually felt great all summer. So it wasn't health problems, and it wasn't even work. It was really just golf kept me away from podcasting. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I mostly only want to talk about college lacrosse. The PLL, I barely watch it. It still I haven't caught the PLL bug yet. So I think it was good that I took the summer off, got fresh here. I'm a little rusty, but we'll get that form back here overall. And I saw Chris Hubbard yesterday at the golf course, and he's a guy local, went to my high school. I think I might have actually even coached him at one point when he was younger. He's a little bit younger than me, not much. But I saw him at the golf course yesterday. I actually golfed the best round of my life. My goal was to get under 50 for a round of 9 because I stink. I'm not good at golf. So my goal this summer was to get under 50. And I actually wasn't sure if I'd even be able to pull that off because I'm that bad. But I actually did get under 50 earlier in the summer. I actually golfed a 98 over 18 holes. I actually just golfed a 45 yesterday. So I ran into Hubbard. So Hubbard, if you're listening to this, I hit the ball well yesterday. I wasn't sure I was going to do that. So yeah, I ended up with a 45, and that is being very critical of myself. I'm not like hey, I golfed alone and golfed a 45 because no one saw me put it into the woods. I'm taking every penalty stroke that I deserve, and I score myself very honestly. I promise. So I broke 45. Now the new thing, I need to break 90 over the course of 18 holes. We'll see if I can do that. And then I think that puts me in a place where I'm not an embarrassment of a golfer. I think even between 90 and 100, I'm not an absolute embarrassment. But, I still hit a lot of those terrible, terrible shots, chunks, shanks. I'm not... Those are just going to happen. And actually, after I broke 50 for the first time, I golfed a 47 on 9. The next time I went out and golfed 9, because I like to go out and golf sometimes before I go to work in the morning. I golfed 9. I golfed 47 one day, and then like 3 days later, I golfed a 60. I'm still in that terrible golfer range, but I look like I know what I'm doing a little bit more, albeit my swing's probably pretty ugly. So, all right, I'm going to shut the hell up here. I will be back next week to talk some more lacrosse. I'm just going to do Sunday mornings through the fall into the winter, and we won't get back to the two shows a week until later on. So, sorry for being rusty. I will get better again, and I will get back in the groove again here. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can go to LaxFactor.com, get some swag. Just watch the videos there if you want to, and you'll always know what's going on. And that is it. Hoost is out. The LaxFactor Podcast.